Well, I'm happy to be here today. We're going to cover how to improve your productivity, have fun, relax, and even compensate for health constraints using the Apple Pencil and the iPad. We'll start off with some history of handwriting input. Then we'll start to focus on Apple Pencil. I'll lay out some use cases so you get a big picture on using the pencil. And then we'll do some live demos of marking up documents and using Scribble, which is the new handwriting detection feature. We'll discuss the non-pencil devices, the difference between the two pencils, version 1 and version 2, and why you shouldn't be too concerned about which version you have. Then we'll pick up the pace by doing a couple more live demos of coloring and photo editing, followed by a rundown of the new pencil related features just released in iPad OS 15. At the end, I'd like to hear from you about how you use your pencil, and feel free to submit questions via the chat window during the presentation. So first, we'll start with a little background on handwriting input so we can better judge where we are today. Apple got its start in handwriting input with the Newton. While it was a cool device, the Newton was actually a failed experiment. It was released in 1993 and it was discontinued 5 years later. Newton was the first PDA to feature handwriting recognition, and the Newton was considered technologically innovative at its debut. But the combination of factors, some of which included its high price and early problems with its handwriting recognition feature, limited its sales. This led to Apple ultimately discontinuing the platform at the direction of Steve Jobs in 1998, 1 year after his return to the company. On the other hand, the Palm Pilot was a rock star at handwriting recognition. Although it had a special font called graffiti, which you can see on the screen here, that you had to learn. Letters had to be written in the left box, numbers had to be written in the right box, so very specific requirements for input. But once you learned it, it was really fast and it was very accurate. Matter of fact, I used to take minutes in a meeting that lasts about 45 minutes, and I could sit there and take the entire meeting notes without ever looking down at my Palm Pilot. And I was sitting at a chair, not at a desk, so it worked exceptionally well. I'd take that back to my desk and I'd just transfer it to my computer and email the minutes. So there's a lot of good features available in that system. 9 years later, while introducing the iPhone, Steve said, "Who wants a stylus? You have to get them, you have to put them away, you lose them, yuck. Nobody wants a stylus. So let's not use the stylus." Now let's switch over to talking about the Apple Pencil. Apple humbly states that the pencil sets the standard for how drawing, note-taking, and marking up documents should feel. Intuitive, precise, and magical, all with imperceptible lag, pixel-perfect precision, tilt and pressure sensitivity, and support for palm recognition. Incredibly easy to use and ready when inspiration strikes. Most of that's dead on true. One of the most common questions about the pencil is how much does it cost? First generation still available at $99. The newer one, the second generation, is $129, so $30 more. Logitech and Zag both make a first generation knockoff pencil for $70, so you can save $30 there. And for this kind of money, these pencils better do a lot more than scribble lines. I think the pencil delivers. It works well for taking handwritten notes on your iPad, right on a copy of the original document. You can enter text in freehand without using the keyboard. So that's my first user case, is taking notes over PDF, which I do quite frequently myself. You can also mark up photos. Here's an example of what I sent to my insurance company after a recent storm. You can use pencil to enter freehand text anywhere. You can use pencil to edit photos with more precision, and we'll have a demonstration on that later. You can use CAD-like programs to transition your house to a new layout or add an additional feature to your house or even design a new house. You can play games, you can do puzzles, you can play cards, you can do coloring and even full-blown painting, and we'll demonstrate the coloring in a little bit. And lastly, the pencil can compensate for medical restrictions, such as needing to wear a glove or the need to minimize shoulder or elbow movements when you do repetitive one-finger type touches, taps, and drags. So now we're going to do a demo using the Notability app to take notes. So I'll switch to my iPad. I'm an old-time Notability user and really got used to taking notes this way. And I really like it. So what I've done is I've opened up an early version of this presentation when we were in draft mode and showing you that this is a PDF copy of that. I highlight the pencil up here, and we can add notes here at will. The nice thing is you can underline, you can move all over your document. It's real easy to do, and you don't have to get caught up in your keyboard. Where's my cursor at? It's really like having an ink pen and print out paper. If you want to add text, you can also click the little T, tap a box, and then you can enter text. And it will do pseudo real-time conversion of the text, and that would stay permanent in your document. So there's both features. When you're using that text box, it's working using the scribble techniques, so you can write any way you want to. But first, before we leave this, I want to show you a special little feature that Notability has. If we go up here and open up the search box, we can start typing. If I could get that in there and I type on the right keyboard, you can see that it searches all the text and finds the 3 letters NOT, not only in the actual text, but in my handwritten notes. It's already converted that in the background and knows what that text actually is. So that's a huge feature that's available here in Notability. All right, now we'll switch back to the presentation. Sorry. Do that. And you can see where I typed it the first time in the wrong spot. So now we're going to do a similar action, marking up a PDF, but this time using Apple's PDF viewer. That's a pretty recent introduction from Apple that allows you to replace some of the features that are available in Notability. So we'll stop the presentation and bring up my file browser, and I have a menu from a local taco shop that I captured using screen capture and converted into a PDF. And just like with Notability, you have the ability to bring up markers of different colors. I'll change the color to red so you can see it. And you can write anywhere you want on the document. So you can do freehand. Just like before. And I'll also show you how these tools work. So this is they call it an ink tool. You can pick different sizes of tips from large to small. And you can also change the opacity. So if you want to color on something and see through it, you can do that, make it nice and wide. And you notice you can still see through to the white bowl. So there's a lot of nice features here. They do have a highlighting tool. If you want to highlight things like the name, you can do that, and you can change the highlighting tool. Same way you can have really wide or narrow. So that's helpful. They have a more of a chalk type tool that you can use if you want to do that. And then they have an eraser. The nice thing with the eraser is it has multiple functions. One is it just erases the entire object that you touch, and they call that the object eraser. And the other is you can do a pixel eraser mode. And if you do that, we'll zoom in here, we can actually get rid of just the highlighting that I did around the name here, which is a really nice feature that you can erase that back out. It's a nice way to highlight something in your presentation, which is an unusual feature. And you can change the size of your little eraser mark. If you hold your pen vertical, it's fairly narrow, but if you start pushing your pencil over, then the mark gets bigger. So that's where it's angle of your pencil sensitive. Next tool is a selection tool, and you can use that to circle around. Let's see if we can get something better. Right, pick this over here. And once you select it, you can move it wherever you want on the screen, just like you would expect. Next tool is really, really nice. We'll scroll down here. This is the eraser. Sorry. This is the ruler, and you can change the angle with the ruler, and then you put your pen on the edge and you draw your lines just like you would expect with a ruler. Use 2 fingers and you can change the angle. We'll make it 45-degree angle, and it snaps to 45. Draw another line. You can rotate it the other way, do another 45 the other way. And it feels just like using a real ruler. And then you click it and make it go away. I really like that feature. We also have another little secret tool here that's hidden under this plus. If you tap on that and click on Magnifier, it will show this little magnifier that is really cool, and you can move it anywhere you want. And if it's not big enough, and you just notice they have a problem with this magnifier tool right now. It tends to blow up and restart the application, but we'll give it a shot again. So we got this here over Odin, and we want to make it bigger. We just grab the little blue control, and we can make it any size we want. And if you grab the little green control, you can change the magnification. So that's huge. I mean, if you've ever tried to highlight something on a drawing and do it in a circle like that and enlarge it, it's really tricky to do. And the cool part here is that when you do that and you save it in your PDF, you come back to your PDF and that is still there and still live, and you can actually move it around.
That's pretty cool. Dale, what program are you in?
This is Apple's PDF viewer. This is the built-in viewer. All I did was go to my files and open a PDF.
Okay. All right, everyone. He's still in PDF viewer. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I found that shocking that has that capability. Okay, let's go to the next screens here. So we talked about how you can mark things up. Now we're going to show you how to use Scribble. Again, Scribble can be used to convert handwritten text lettering into actual computer text in real time. And you have to enable the Scribble and settings /Apple Pencil. So we'll go show you how to do that. So I go to my settings. On my left-hand side, I'll scroll up and you can see Apple Pencil down here on the left. And here are the settings. We've got how much battery's in your pencil, whether you use the pencil or whether you let your fingers do the work. This is how you enable Scribble. That has to be enabled for that to work. And the biggest thing here is I wanted to show you try Scribble. And if I stop using my mouse, this gives you a nice little dynamic lesson on how Scribble works. So you saw that action. We'll make it go again. They're actually demonstrating that, and they're saying use your pencil to handwrite in any text area to convert it into type. So we will repeat their words. Try writing here. And you'll notice I'm a fairly sloppy printer, and it didn't have any problem reading my printing. If I write my own name in cursive, it didn't have any problem converting that. And I find that quite amazing. This is where you want to go if you want to try Scribble and see if it can read your handwriting. And it's a wonderful tool. They have next delete, and they'll show you how to delete a character out of, or a word out of your text. And you can do this anywhere. So to delete, you just scratch the word out, and it's that easy. You can scratch it horizontally, but it tends to get confused sometimes. So I recommend that you scratch them out vertically, but it does work really well. So that's how you delete characters. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to select, and they give you two choices here. You can draw a straight line through them, and it picks up all those words, or you can circle a word. So again, draw a straight line. You can do it anywhere, short, you can do it long, go left or right, or you can circle a group. So that's how you select. Now, if you want to insert a word, you have this nifty little process where you tap and hold your pencil in any edible field. So we're going to put it right in front of the sentence, and there it put, and you'll notice it jumped away. You only have a certain amount of time to get your new word in there. So I'll do it again, and I'll write new. And it'll say, okay, and there you go. It pushed the additional spaces in there that it needed and let you add that new word. So that's handy. And the last feature here is they allow you to join or disconnect characters. So we'll replay this again because it goes pretty fast. They'll have two words that are joined together and have the word join with an extra space in it that they'll correct. So they separated two and separate, and they join word back. So all they did was you run a vertical line down, and it puts a space where you put the vertical line. And if you do a vertical line where there is a space, it eliminates the space. That's really easy to get used to too. So let's switch back to the presentation. Scribble also works across apps, so it's not just limited to the PDF viewer. It'll work anywhere, and we'll give it a shot with Pages. So I'll launch Pages here, and I've been playing around here. And what you got to do is make sure you know where your cursor's at. In this case, we got it up there. You can see it on the screen, and you can just literally start writing. So you can write whatever you want. And you'll notice that I moved down with my handwriting, but it kept it going in the same sentence. That's something that you got to get used to. It's really going to start wherever the cursor is, but you can get accustomed to that. And you'll notice that the bar down here, which is part of Scribble and Markup, now has some additional tools, and the pen with the A on it, which is the one sticking up here, right next to the blue one, that's the Scribble tool. And that's where it does the handwriting conversion. So you'll want to keep track of that. So you can see you can write into Pages. I'll also bring up my email and I'll launch a new email, and I'm going to send this email to myself. So I'll write my own name. It converts that to my name, looks me up in the contact list, and inputs my email for me. If I wanted to, I could write out my own address. And I'll do my Gmail this time. And it will convert that. So it's incredibly powerful. And you can move down to the subject line, and this is my test email. And you notice that when I put a capital T, it makes capital. So it's really easy to use. I find it an amazing tool, quite frankly.
That's cool. Do you have a moment?
Yep.
I'm sorry. Do you have a moment for a question?
Yes, I do.
James Corsica, can you please unmute yourself and ask your question?
Hi, Dale. This may be a little esoteric, but it would be very valuable for me. I use my Apple Pencil in math tutoring, a combination of my iPad, my Apple Pencil, reflector, and screen sharing. Does Scribble convert an algebraic expression to as though it were typewritten? So if you had an expression like x squared over x squared minus 1, would it convert it to, I don't know what the description would be, as though it had been typed?
No.
No. Okay.
I don't know if they have any add-ons to do that. It never occurred to me to check for that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you, Jim. All right, all yours, Dale.
Okay. So we'll switch back to the slideshow. So you saw that it works anywhere in the Apple world. And I noted that Scribble can be done with printing, handwriting, and cursive both. And you can intermix those in the same sentence. You can even intermix them in the same word. Again, I just find that amazing. Now, people also ask, can I use other devices other than the Apple branded pencil? You can use the Zag Pro Stylus as a pencil. That's one of the ones that is certified to work with the Apple. You can't use your Kindle stylus. You can't use a rubber tip stylus that essentially replaces your fingertip. You can't put any other kind of tip on your Apple Pencil and have that work. You can't use your finger for scribble. And you can't use your pencil on your iPhone, at least not yet. I'm mystified why they haven't enabled that yet, but you can't do it as of today. So what is required to use Scribble? And which iPads support the pencil? Since you need the pencil, you have to have an iPad that supports pencil. All the iPad Pros, all the iPads since the 6th generation, all the Airs since the 3rd generation, and the iPad Mini since the 5th generation all support pencils. And note that the pencil requires iPad OS 14 and above. So you have to have a reasonably new iPad in order to have them, but If you look at the list for the first generation, there's a whole bunch of devices that support this. Second generation, which are the devices that have the square sides or the flat sides, they'll be using the second generation pencil, and all the other iPads with curved sides use the first generation. And we'll talk a little more about that. Differences between pencil version 1 and pencil version 2. The drawing performance is identical on both pencils. You're not going to get any enhancement to the drawing aspects. They'll both feel the same. They both support tilt and rotation detection. They both have good pressure detection. So really, when it comes to drawing performance, again, both the Apple Pencil models are identical. Pencil 2 does have one technical advantage. It has a double tap virtual button that is user programmable. And in the example that's playing, they're switching between their eraser and their drawing tool. That's only available on Pencil 2. And Pencil 2 also has the nice advantage that it sticks to the edge with a magnet on the newer iPads, and it does charge wirelessly. So it stays in place and it stays constantly charged. So that is a nice feature. But again, you have to have an iPad with the square edge so that it'll work. Since both pencils use the same tips, the replaceable tip here, they feel the same on the glass, so you get the same user experience of drawing and sketching. So when you buy the pencil that works with your iPad, and don't worry about the version. The Pencil 1 works just fine.
Dale, I have a
Yes.
question about someone has a question about the iPad, I'm sorry, the tip of the pencil.
Mhm.
And they want to know, is there anything you can use to reduce the sound of the tapping or clicking noise on the tip?
I've not run across anything, and I've used quite a few different stylists over time. And quite frankly, I've found that the Apple hard stylus is really robust, and I like it. I've tried using softer styluses in the past with other screens, and they tend to not work as well. So you need a hard stylus so that it glides well over the glass. So I would suspect that you'll find the same thing if you do find a replacement tip, which you can screw right off and replace, that you'll not be satisfied with the drag that you get from a softer tip.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, all yours.
Okay. So now we're going to switch over to do a demo in the application called Pigment. That's the coloring program that you can get for your iPad. So I'll switch back to my iPad here. We got Pigment here. It takes a minute to load. And it brings up the screen. I have not purchased the purchased version of Pigment. It is a subscription. It's $5 per week, $10 per month, or $60 per year. But you can use it for free for a limited amount of stuff. So you just close that window, and you'll see in Out of This World here, if there is this little diamond icon, you have to have a subscription to use those, but they do give you several for free that you can color on and play with. So we'll open the Space Shuttle here. When you open it up, it gives you a gallery. They call it an inspiration gallery. This is drawings that other people have done. So if you want an idea of what to do, you can use those, or you can just hit color and go right into it. And it's a nice little tool. It comes with a bunch of fills again, you'll see all the diamonds, so you only get to use a few of them, but that's fine. And the way it works is you touch your pen inside the box. I'm not using the right tool here, sorry. And it fills the whole box. Why is it constantly switching back? There we go. Now it's on tap to fill. So this is kind of a nice way to draw. You don't have to have much dexterity. If you have issues getting into small areas, you can blow it up. And it makes it easy because you notice it stays between the lines. I don't have to do anything to make it stay between the lines. It does it on its own. I can also change the color or the intensity of that color by sliding the slider back and forth. So that's kind of a handy little feature there. They also have a brush, which works like you would expect. So I can actually draw on an area, and again, it knows where the boundaries are. So that's a nice feature. So if you want to actually experiment with doing some real texturing, you can do that. And this is sensitive to the angle. If you've got your pen facing upwards, it stays pretty narrow like that. And if you tilt your pencil over, you get a big mark. So that's a pretty nice way to color. A lot of people find this very meditative. It's a nice way to wind down in the evening and do fun stuff that keeps your mind busy, but doesn't overwhelm you with problems. They give you lots and lots and lots of colors to play with. Virtually all of them are free. There are a few palettes that you pay extra for, or you have to be a member, I should say. But yeah, you got plenty of choices to draw here. So it's a nice little routine, something you can give it a shot and try it for free. I highly recommend giving it a shot. Let me bring my presentation back up again. And again, that was Pigment. It's available on the iPad store. Let's say you took this picture like I did at the Concours d'Elegance car show, but that rope that goes across in front of the cars just bugs the heck out of me. I don't like that at all. So as a photographer, I was restricted to taking snapshots, essentially. I couldn't alter the environment. I couldn't remove the rope. I couldn't ask them to move the cars. So what do? You just take the picture and you come home and you edit it and eliminate the rope. So it looks a lot better to me, not having the rope there. And I did that with my iPad. And I'll do a live demonstration and show you how I did that. And we're going to use an add-in app, and it's called Touch Retouch for tablet, and it costs $2. And I'll show you where that's at when we're done. So here's the original picture. If we go up to the top right corner, you see the edit button there, and you go into edit mode, and then to access the retouch, you hit the ellipsis at the top, and it shows you the additional editors you have installed. So we'll go with Retouch. Switches the program over to use Retouch, and now we want to do line removal. So at the bottom of your screen, you'll see line removal. I touched that, and it turned green, and it will remove the line. So I take my pencil now, and I start drawing on that line right across the middle of the screen, and I don't have to be perfect. And there the rope's gone, just that quick. Now I want to get rid of that post, so I come here to my object removal, and I just start coloring over this post. You can see the green highlighting, and this little bit that was hanging off the rope. And then I hit the go button, and that's gone too. So now I've got a pretty decent photo without that distracting rope being in front of everything. I didn't have to map over or anything. The nice part here too is the object removal works on anything. So if I don't like this flag in the background, I can just start drawing over the flag, let it know where it's at, and I have to fill it all in because it only eliminates what's already marked in green. So I highlight it all, then I hit the go button, and the flag's gone. So that's a handy little tool. Again, doing that with your finger, it's not the same experience at all. It's really nice to have the Apple Pencil for doing that kind of editing.
Dale, you have an interesting question from Greg Purdom. Greg,
Yep.
Can you please unmute yourself and ask your question?
Okay. I wonder if it also be useful with a pencil for removing the shadows in the picture. For instance, the shadows in front of the signage of for the cars and under the cars themselves.
Oh, absolutely. That would be a little bit more work, but it can get rid of these shadows as well. You can make those go away. Yeah, you can do a lot for a little $2 program. I'm amazed how well it is at eliminating stuff like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, all yours.
And again, it is available on the App Store. And of course, I had it up and it just got rid of it. I'll show you. So, because there are a lot of different programs that are called Touch and Retouch. So it's the one here in the top right corner. You can recognize the icon, looks kind of like a 6. And they call it Touch Retouch for tablet. And again, it's $2, so it's a good deal. So we'll bring up the presentation again. And now we're going to show you the Scribble shortcut palette, which I referred to earlier. I'm not going to do this as a live demo. I just want to highlight that it's context sensitive. You notice that it changed over time. If you're in a program like Pages that allows you to do a lot of word editing, it gives you all these tools like justify, changing the font, changing the size, doing the bold, italics, etc. They have a new line character that's in there a lot of times. And then they have a pop-up keyboard. So if you get frustrated and you just want to get the keyboard and start typing again, you can do that. They always hide the settings here on the right under the ellipsis. And then they give you a varying grouping of pencils here. Again, the one with the A is the one for scribble. That's a pen, that's chalk. They have crayon, and they have one with ink that's more for drawing filled objects. And your good old eraser, and that's the selection tool to allow you to grab an existing graphic and move it around the screen. You notice the ruler is not shown on this view. Apple has really specialized these pop-up shortcuts, shortcut palettes as they call them, so that they're application specific and they make it as easy to use as possible. Okay, so now we're going to switch over and talk about the features associated with the pencil that are new in iPadOS 15. So quick note, which is the ability to quickly jot something down on a dedicated pop-up window, is pencil enabled. You swipe your pencil or your finger up from the bottom right corner towards the center, and we can do that, and that'll bring up a note. So I'll use my pencil, I drag it up, and it brings up this handy dandy notepad. I can hit in the top right corner of that and create a new page. And now we can start typing in here with your keyboard if you want, or you can use Scribble and start writing in it as well. So we bring up our Scribble menu, we make sure that our Scribble tool is selected, and then we just start writing here. So that's pretty handy dandy. If you just want to do some artwork, you can just do freehand too, and that'll stay freehand. The nice thing about these notes is you can slide them off the edge of the screen, and you see that little bar there right here that says the note's still there for you to get a hold of. So if you're taking notes and like to write on tablets and stuff, this is a real nice way of doing that. You can keep it around, or you can store it away. When you store it away, it goes into your notes application, into a special folder it creates called Quick Notes. This is the one we were just working on, and this is the one I had up earlier. And you can access them from there. You can move them around. You can put them in any of your existing iCloud note folders. So it's really a regular note, but it's just really nice to have around, and it brings up the last one. Has another nice feature if you're in something like Safari. You'll notice it now has add link. So I click on that. There it goes. Oh, it did it. Sorry. We'll add the link again. Oh, that's interesting. So we'll come back here. So here's the link for the Hemmings article that we were just looking at. If I save that and I go over to my notes, it even typically expands it out. There you go. You can see the website you're on. So if you want to take your notes and say, okay, I can get back to that website just by clicking on my note. So real handy for taking notes. And again, to make it go away, you just hit the done button. And again, you can do that with your finger or with the pencil. It is pencil enabled, but you have a choice. The next new feature is to translate the handwritten text. So if you're in a foreign country and you're trying to figure out what's going on, and there's nobody around who can speak English, or vice versa, perhaps you speak fluent German and you're in the United States, and I'll write the only German word I really know, and that's Danke. And if the tricky part here to get it to select the text, it's a little bit tricky, but anyway, once you get it to select the text, you can actually translate it, and you have to choose your language. So I'll say it's German, and it tells me that means thank you. You know, even play how to pronounce the words. So you can have a handwritten conversation with somebody in another language and switch back and forth to convert and understand what they're trying to tell you. I think that's pretty slick. And that's available for quite a few languages, as you can see from the pop-up. I didn't have my iPad shared, did I? Did you see that happen, or did I just talk through it and did it on my own screen?
You just talked through that.
Ha! I did it live too, and you missed that part. But you got the intent. We'll go with that.
Okay.
Sorry. Next thing is you can take a screenshot with pencil, and that's where you just swipe up from the bottom left corner. This time you do have to use the pencil, but you swipe up from the bottom left and it does the normal screenshot. So if you're doing any application, you know, it takes the screenshot there as well. It's a nice feature if you've got the pencil in your hand and you're just trying to do quick stuff. It's redundant. It gives you the exact same screenshot as if you do the power and the home button at the same time, or whatever you have to do on the newer iPads. But it's a nice little feature. And again, if you have to have a pencil, it does not work with your finger.
You might have to go back to that translating part.
Oh, okay.
We have a couple of questions in the chat about it. So do you have a moment to do that live again?
I do.
Okay.
So here I've written the word DACA, and I put my finger on it until it selects it like that. And you can see the little cut copy bar. If you hit the arrow for more, translate comes up, and it allows me to pick a language. It defaulted to Dutch, but I want it to be German. And I just select German, and there it shows the English conversion. You can change the language. You can copy the translation so that thank you shows up on your clipboard. You can add it to favorite. You can open the whole translate. So that's pretty nice. So like I say, you can have a conversation and you convert the language back and forth and understand what people are saying. So any other
Great.
questions about how that works?
I think you covered it. Thank you for doing that.
Sweet. Let's go back to our slideshow. And we did that. And now we'll go back and show you that the settings, again, I showed you where the Apple Pencil setting is, and that's where you can learn how to use Scribble on your own. And those two gestures I just showed you, the left corner swipe for the screenshot and the right corner swipe for the quick note. They do have menus under these, but there's no other selections right now. So the fact that they're giving you choices in the control, but no choices means that they're working on some other options that you can replace those swipes with. But this is for Apple Pencil 1. If you have version 2, you'll get a different looking screen. It'll look like this. And this will have the control at the top for controlling the double tap. Everything below that is exactly the same as Pencil version 1. So there's the three things you can do with your double tap so far: is switch between current tool and the eraser, and switch between the current tool and the last use tool. Or you can show the color palette. So how do you guys use your pencil? I know quite a few people have pencils. Would like to get some input from the crowd. Maybe you guys could tell me what you're doing.
Can you answer a question before we get to that?
I can answer questions too, yes.
All right, so what if you are like trying to trace something? Like, can you use tracing paper over the iPad in an app and try to use it that way with the Apple Pencil?
You know, that's a good question. I've never tried that. I can put a piece of paper over my iPad right now. I'll bring up a tablet and it does allow you to draw through it. But the problem is that it doesn't, I got to think of the right word that they use for that.
Would it take away some of the sensitivity?
It does do that too, but no, it doesn't recognize your hand touching the screen anymore, and your screen's trying to jump around and figure out why it's getting so much contact.
Okay.
So if you want to try that, you might want to try taping the paper down so it's not moving, and give it a shot. I've never seen it advertised as a feature.
Okay. All right. Jared Billmeyer, can you please unmute yourself and ask your question?
All right, hang on a minute. Am I unmuted? Looks like I am.
Yes, you are.
There is an app called Trace by Morfellow. That's an architectural program that I've used to trace out floor plans when I moved from Pennsylvania back to Maryland. That worked very well, and you didn't have to do any kind of tracing paper on there because you're writing right on the screen on layers. And with the Apple Pencil, it's really nice to be able to, and you can choose whether you want yellow parchment or white paper, graphs, grids, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite nice. But I've got a Pencil 1 and I've got a Pencil 2 for the newer iPad, so they're both fun to use. Thank you.
Good. Jared, can you put the name of that app in the chat, please?
Now you're asking me to do something I'm not familiar with.
Well, can you tell me what the name of the app was?
It's called Trace,
Mm-hmm.
TRACE,
Mm-hmm.
and the company is Morfilio, MORFILIO.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. We'll take a look and see if we can pull that up. Thank you, Peter. Peter has already pulled it up and put that in the chat, and we'll find the link and put that in the chat. Thank you. I'm very interested in that. Thank you again very much, Jared.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions for Dale? We got a couple of things in the chat. Let me pull up some stuff. Can you switch back and forth between Pencil 1 and Pencil 2, Dale?
No, the pencils are specific to the version of iPad you have. So if you've got the curved-sided iPad like I do, the original iPad Pro, you have to use Pencil 1. If you've got the flat-sided iPads, you have to use Pencil 2.
Okay. Thank you. Victoria, can you unmute yourself? You're having questions? Victoria Herring, can you unmute yourself and ask your question? Okay, let's let Victoria. Okay, no question, no response from Victoria. All right. Sue and Rob, unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, it's just Rob. First of all, thank you. That was quite helpful. I had actually a couple of questions with regard to how long does a pencil last before you have to recharge it? And also, have you run into any issues with having to buy a new pencil because you can no longer use the battery in it? That's the first group of questions.
Okay. The pencil lasts for me for hours. The nice thing is with the pencil, to recharge it, you just plug it into your iPad, and in a few seconds, you'll have like 15 minutes of drawing again. So it works well, even if you're in a meeting and you're going like, holy cow, it's gotten low. You can do a fast recharge. The Pencil 2, you just snap it on top of the iPad and it'll recharge fairly quickly there. I bought this pencil when I bought the original iPad Pro, and I've not had a problem with the batteries aging out, like I did with my original EarPods.
Yeah, I had the same issue with my original AirPods, and Apple was quite willing to send me 2 new ones for probably what you pay for in the store.
Exactly.
The second thing is I appreciate all the power that it has, especially with quick notes now. And when you were using the word Danke, I didn't see actually how you selected it, but that's probably either I wasn't paying attention or I couldn't figure it out because I'm too slow.
It's a little non-intuitive. You have to touch the word with your finger, And it has to be in some undefined mode that it selects that as text. They don't explain it well. And that's why I'm struggling to explain it to you, because I can't make it do it immediately. It's like it goes into a wait mode that then goes, oh yeah, you just want to select that text.
Well, it actually worked for me. I just did it on my iPad Pro here. And so it was pretty good. I mean, one of the challenges I have, and I don't know if anybody else does, is I have simple tremor in my right hand. I'm right-handed. And so sometimes when I'm using the pencil, I shy away from it because my hand will jiggle and it looks like slop. And I don't know if there are anybody who has any helpful hints for that.
If you do, put them in the chat, please. Okay. All right, thank you. Appreciate your questions. Okay. Debbie Clark, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yes, thank you. Good presentation. My question was, I didn't see you demonstrate anything like if I want to create a table quickly, you know, create a box and put stuff in a table, will it resolve into, you know, something I can copy and paste somewhere?
Oh, like a table. No, I'm not aware that you can create a table. You can create graphics, so you can create a box. And if you hold your pen down, well, sorry, got to get the right pencil here. You can create a nice square box. But you can't create like a graph paper type stuff. You notice I got a problem with my iPad right there. Yeah, doing this and have it create a real table of data, it's not quite there yet.
Does that answer your question, Debbie?
Yes, thank you very much.
All right. And there's a similar question about creating a spreadsheet. So I don't know if that would be the same answer, Dale. What do you think?
It would be the same answer.
Okay.
You're one step ahead.
Okay. What about pencil tips? Have you had any issue with the tips? No,
same original pencil. They gave me a spare tip with it. I've never had to change a tip.
Right. And
But
I still have, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I've never dropped mine, so I don't know if you break them when you drop them.
And I also still have my original pencil one, and it charges fine and it works perfectly. So I've never had a problem with it. Okay, and James Corsica, unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yeah, Dale, I was going to ask you about the tips too. Unfortunately, I had kind of a freakish accident with my first Apple Pencil, and the tip did not recover well, so I ultimately had to replace it. And so I think it's kind of sensitive to dropping. I almost advise people to put a weight on the other end so that if you drop it, it will fall butt first, as it were.
Yeah.
But you already answered the question of whether or not you had dropped yours. So it'd be interesting to see if anybody else has had the experience of it dropping point forward and see if it survived.
So it's much like a person. It's better dropping on your butt. I did lose my cover. It's somewhere in my kitchen, but I've not been able to find it. So that's one of the bad things here. So if I drop mine and drop on this end, I don't think it'll bend that, but it probably could. Anything else, James?
No, thank you. I agree with you that the cover on the rear end is also easy to lose. And the little connector, when you're charging it with a charge block, is easy to lose too. So I would just say be vigilant about those things.
All right, don't carry them around. All right, Stephen Ramirez, can you please unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yes, that's what the air tags are for, aren't they? Just kidding. I will note I'm using the Pencil 2 on the Pro and the new Mini, and all you have to do is attach the pencil once, and it pairs automatically. So there's no going into the settings. So the pencil is compatible with any tablet that supports it, and it's just seamless. It's really just an incredible system. The Pencil with the various tablets that support it. Good presentation. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Sue and Rob. Rob, you have another question?
Yes, I do. One of the slides that you showed a device to hold it. It looked like a round to make it wider in the middle. Was that something in the slide rather than hold a thin pencil? Because I'm wondering, at least on this simple tremor thing, if that would be able to balance it better so it doesn't, it's easier to use.
Yeah, they do make silicone sleeves for the pencil that make them quite large. My mother used to use those on her pens, but they make them for the pencil explicitly, and they even make one that has a lasso for the cap so you don't lose it. And yes, I bought that whole set, but I didn't like the feel of it. Here's the rubber tip. So yeah, look around at stores that specialize in third-party stuff for Apple stuff like Amazon, and you can buy larger sleeves to go over. That might help you because you wouldn't have to grip so tight.
Dan Sailors, can you please unmute yourself and relate your experience?
Yeah, I don't know if you can do it. I just know that when you take, particularly on the Apple One, when it comes out, you have a sleeve in it that has the charging little thing and an extra tip and a cap, I think. Anyway, I was at a conference in Orlando, of course, it's been a couple of years ago, and I lost the charging thing and the end cap for some unknown reason. I actually took a good Uber and went over to an Apple store and talked to one of the geniuses and pleaded my plight, and she went back in the back and came back and gave me the new sleeve with all that stuff in it.
No
So
kidding.
all I'm saying is that, and I've learned that on other things, that sometimes you just got to go take the time to face to face with somebody. But I really think, I know that, I don't know for certain, but I think you can buy that part. You just have to, I don't know if you go to the Apple store or not, they'd be worth checking out because I've lost that top, and lived with it for a year. To me, that's a good thing about the Apple II is it doesn't have a top and it charges only one way.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's worth, I mean, I don't know. That's just my experience. So I don't know if anybody else could get that done or not.
All right, thank you. Peter Emery, you have a comment.
Yes, I use a keyring toolbox to store my charge adapter and a spare cap. And I'm thinking of putting the spare tip for the Apple Pencil 1 in there as well.
That's a great suggestion. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, we have a few minutes left. We can answer a couple more questions. Does anyone have a question? Rob, did you have another question? I see your hand up.
No, I thought I put it down and I'm sure I could have lots of questions, but I just want to say this is the first meeting I've been to. And I joined my first Mac meeting at MIT in 1988. And they disappeared, I think, in 1995 at the time. So this is fantastic. Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome.
Thank
Glad
you.
you could join us. Sharon,
Yes,
unmute
thank
yourself
you.
and you're welcome. Sharon, unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. So a lot of useful information. I've already downloaded a couple of the apps. Thank you. Just a word of caution. I have the M1 iPad Pro with the square edge, and I had my pencil on the side. Be really careful. It's easily dislodged. I went into class, looked for my pencil, couldn't find it. It was on outside my car on the ground. Luckily, it was still there when I got out of class several hours later. So be really careful. It's easily dislodged from the side.
Yeah, I would definitely not keep it attached to the side because
well,
that's
not
that's
anymore.
yeah, that's an accident waiting to happen. Okay, Donna Warnock, you have a question. Donna, are you there? Do you know how to?
Yes, now I know.
We hear you. Go ahead.
Does it have an undo feature? I also have a tremor, and I saw that you could erase, and that it doesn't have to be precise. But if I try to erase, I might not even get vaguely like what it looked like before. My hands can get really jagged. So
Yeah, on the shortcut palette, on the left-hand side, they're pretty consistent. They have the undo, redo buttons there.
Great. Thank you so much.
Sure.
All right, thank you. Carl, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Hi, Dale. Great presentation. Been a lot of talk about tips, and originally there was a spare tip, and they are replaceable. You've never replaced yours. How do you determine when it needs to be replaced? Because it's kind of scary sometimes running that hard surface across glass.
Yeah, mine, you can't see any visible wear. And as I said, I haven't dropped it, so I didn't bend it or anything. I did have other tips on other devices, especially my iPad, that the tip would start wearing and it would hit a hard spot and it would feel nice until you turn it in the wrong spot and it hits that little hard piece inside the rubber that didn't work well. And then I replaced that tip. But for these, I think Apple has its traditional higher manufacturing standards, and I've never felt the need to replace the tip. Wouldn't worry about it.
Okay, thank you.
Great. All right. We have Jared. Do you have another question or a comment?
Just
Jared
a quick,
Go ahead.
just a quick comment. And I'm trying to remember where I saw it. I just recently saw something. There is a paper-like overlay that you could put over your iPad screen that gives you the feel of writing on paper when you use your Apple Pencil. It's like a screen protector, but it's paper-like. And I'm trying to remember where I saw it and what it was. If I find it, I'll send you an email with it.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
Just to wrap up, if I could,
Yes, go ahead, Dale.
before we leave, I want to point out that I do have my sources for all this information in the back of the slide deck. And I want to give special thanks to Bob Kelly because he worked on this presentation with me for quite a while and gave me a lot of good input. So thanks, Bob.
Sharon, I think the Scribble shortcut, is that the one where you test out? That's in the Apple Pencil settings. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.